This live stream brought to you by the Excelsior Citizen and these generous sponsors.
The Simmons Sales Team, your hometown realtors.
Our Excelsior Springs Hospital, where better care is right in your backyard.
Whether we're talking about our dedication to preventing and restoring power outages, our pursuit of safety, or providing the best member experience possible, we are relentless in serving our communities.
Since 1974, Chuck Anderson Ford has proudly served the community's automotive needs. From new and pre-owned vehicles to parts and service, they've been there in the past and they'll be there in the future. Visit Chuck Anderson Ford today. Find out how you can advertise with Excelsior Springs' #1 community resource. Visit ExcelsiorCitizen.com today.
So we gotta answer some questions.
I don't care.
Okay, all right, it's 3 p.m. on the dot, so thank you for joining us this afternoon for this listening session about the annexation question that will appear on the ballot on November the 4th. So we'll just do a brief presentation and then we'll open it up for questions and discussion. So welcome, I'm Mallory Brown, the Community Development Director for the City of Excelsior Springs. And with us this afternoon we have Molly McGovern, City Manager, Melinda Mahaffey, Economic Development Director, Shannon Stroud, City Clerk, Chad Birdsong, Public Works Director, Joe Maddock, Fire Chief, Greg Dahl, Police Chief, and Vonda Floyd, Finance Director. And then on council, we have Councilman Reggie McGovern and Councilman Reggie St. John. They're a two for one deal. Reggie St. John and John McGovern. And I don't think I'm missing anyone.
And we have Representative Mark Myra.
Oh, yes. Hello. Welcome. So our goals for this afternoon are to share a little bit about the ballot question that will be on the ballot on November 4th. To gain a general understanding of annexation and then the reasons why cities annex land. So our annexation process started on June 5th when Council adopted an ordinance calling for an election on November 4th to submit to the registered voters of the city the question of annexing certain adjacent territory into the city limits. So the ballot language will look very much like this, although it'll be much longer on the actual ballot. So the question is, shall the City of Excelsior Springs, Missouri annex the following described real property into the corporate limits of the city? The ballot will actually go on to describe every parcel included in that red boundary by legal description. It will also include right-of-way in that legal description as well. So it'll, like I said, the ballot language is much longer. And so the question is simple. The answer yes is yes, I would like the city to annex that property indicated in red into the city limits of Excelsior Springs. By answering no, that's saying no, I don't want the City of Excelsior Springs to annex that property into the city limits. So what happens after November 4th? So this is a tricky one. Typically something gets put on the ballot and it either passes or it doesn't. In this case it's a little bit more complicated than that, because both Excelsior Springs and Mosby are attempting to annex the same territory, although the territory that Excelsior Springs has proposed to annex is much larger than the territory that Mosby plans to annex. So we'll just have to wait and see how the election results pan out. So moving on to why cities annex land. So cities annex land for a variety of reasons, but they most often include growth management, service delivery, and economic development. So to manage growth and development, a huge piece of that is controlling land use. So annexation allows cities to apply their zoning and development standards to areas within their city, and then when they annex, it allows them to apply those same standards to the newly annexed area. So this creates regulated development, allows us to control uses and make sure that uses are all compatible both in our current city limits and in the expanded city limits. It allows us to guide future growth. So cities often plan areas where subdivisions should be, where business districts should be, where industrial parks should be. And by growing, it allows us to plan better for those future land uses, to grow our city in the most orderly and efficient way. And then the final reason that most cities do it, and probably the most important, is comprehensive planning. So cities often identify growth areas in their comprehensive plans, and Excelsior Springs has identified this area proposed for annexation as a major growth area for the City of Excelsior Springs. So there is it's printed up here larger. I'm going to show this map, but it shows you where our development has occurred in the last 8 years or so. So this is a map that will be included in our newly adopted comprehensive plan that the city will adopt in the next 2 months. And let's see if this will work. The area in yellow here is identified as a growth area, and so this is included in the annexation area. This area here is already in the city limits, and this is where we're running into some issues with incompatible land uses that this annexation would allow us to control. So this is the map that's also printed up here. But you can see on this map, so it's hard to see, but the yellow dots are single-family residential permits. The red are commercial, and there's orange on there as well, but it's really hard to see. So you can see that most of our permits have all been in this area right here, which would lead right out into this annexation area for potential growth even further to the north. So when we look at this data, it really shows us that the trend of our city is growing westward. We have very few permits on the east side of the city and very few on the south side of the city. So the third reason why we annex is to provide and coordinate city services. So efficient service delivery is really top of priority for all cities. So cities can extend services such as police, fire protection, sewer, water, and sanitation to the newly annexed areas. So we can deliver those services in the most efficient way. And in many cases, we are actually already delivering those services to the proposed annexation area. So it allows for infrastructure coordination. So it helps us coordinate the construction of our roads, how we're building our roads. Are they service roads? Are they collector roads? How do we need to maintain those roads? And at what priority are they serving industrial areas, residential areas? So infrastructure coordination is extremely important, and when we don't own the roads on the perimeter of our city, it's really hard to do that. It allows us to eliminate service gaps in areas that we serve. So like I said, we already service much of this annexation area with emergency response and even utilities in many cases. So this next map this one is the same one I just showed. But in addition, and that's also on the one up here if you'd like to take a closer look, it shows water and sewer lines. So the blue is water and then green is sewer. And I'd like you to notice that the city spent significant infrastructure dollars to build a sewer system, a gravity sewer system, which goes out into this annexed area. Because back in the 90s, there was foresight to see that was the natural growth of our city. And they realized that gravity sewer system was necessary to support the growth that was happening on the west side of the city. You can also see that water lines extend really close there. So in partnership with Clay 8 and the City of Excelsior Springs, we have the ability to provide utilities as development occurs out in this annexed area. The map on the right is the fire service area. So in yellow is everywhere that the City of Excelsior Springs already provides fire service. So you can see that we're providing fire service in a significant portion already of the proposed annexation area. And then the green is the Fishing River Fire District. And so through this annexation, we would take over fire service in that red dotted area, the annexation area, from the Fishing River Fire District. I'll also speak briefly on ambulance service. Through contract, we are actually already providing ambulance service to the area today. So, and then finally, to promote economic development. So we want to attract investment. We want to continue to grow the city. We want to see additional commercial investment. We want to see additional tax dollars coming into our city through commercial development, sales tax revenue generation. And gaining this area allows us to do that. It also encourages fairness. So those that are already taking part in city services, shopping in our stores, it allows them to pay the fair share of taxes and contribute to city services that they're likely already receiving. The city is not seeing necessarily a benefit from that. And so with that, we'll open it up to questions and discussions, and I'll answer questions that pertain to community development, and then my city partners will answer others. So happy to answer questions. None? Come on, you always have a question.
Okay, why is it so important that we take everything from Cameron Road over to Rodas Road?
So are you talking about this specific road?
Yeah, I mean, that looks like a gerrymandered congressional district, if you want to get right down to it.
Well, this has nothing to do with congressional districts.
I
Taking
understand
no
that.
consideration in population or anything like that, like congressional districts.
I would think it would follow more
So we
understandably if we took, if we was going up Cameron Road, straight up Cameron Road to 140th, and I know 140th doesn't connect in between,
Sure.
but it would make more sense. And especially being that we are in competition with the City of Mosby, who's actually trying to also get that same property on the other side of the road. And so my question is, why is it so important that we go over there to the other side of the road between Cameron and Rodas?
This area.
Yes.
Because this property right here is where we're seeing the incompatible land uses with
Incompatible with whom?
our city and with the residential properties that are located on the fringe of our city.
What you're telling me is you're taking on a fight with Idecker.
I'm not taking on any fight with anyone.
Because that's what's going to happen. If you're going to go in there and try to shut down Idecker, there's going to be a lawsuit. And it's going to be coming from several fronts.
I have no intentions of shutting down any
It's going to be coming from several fronts. How much money are you willing to set aside to handle these lawsuits? Because I don't want my tax dollars going for it. I'd rather see you pull it back, go up north to 140th, and leave the other side alone. It's not our fight. It's not our battle.
It is our development core. So development is occurring. It is incompatible. We are not picking a fight with anyone. It's all about land use and regulations. So
evidently, they got the permits from somebody to go out there and start digging anyway. And so it might be incompatible with the City of Excelsior Springs, which isn't there yet. So you're taking the fight to them.
They have permits to dig inside the City of Mosby, what is currently the City of Mosby. And we're not annexing anything that's currently in the City of Mosby.
I see that, but Mosby is trying. She just stated that.
Right, but they don't have permits to go into an area that's not permitting their development.
So what you're saying is you're going to go out there and try to shut down Idecker.
No, that's not my intention.
Not your intention.
Our intention is to see the orderly development of our city. That is our intention.
Okay, then why didn't you also take going north on Cameron Road up to 140th and just block it in?
So
that would have made much more sense.
So just to explain, when you're proceeding to do an annexation, the clearest and most effective way to do that is to follow the roadways. So we are completely following roadways. We are coming out of our city limits along 136th Street to Cameron Road, north on Cameron Road to 140th Street, 140th Street to Rodas Road, Rodas Road back to our city limits. And compact and contiguous is really what the state statute asks you to consider when you're putting forth an annexation proposal. So we are including a compact area to our city limits. It provides the development consistently in that area. So if I only picked pockets of it and left pockets that someone else would have to go around, it makes it really hard to deliver services.
Well, you've already got the gerrymandered part up there.
No,
that goes between Cameron Road and Rodas.
So when
It
you
follows the road.
when you do
It follows the road, but see, if we have, can you put your map back up there?
Which one?
so
With
Jim,
the annex.
when
Okay.
you follow road, so when you are
How do
only
we get,
doing
how do we get to this service area, right here? We have to send our vehicles outside the city limit to do it.
So when people
They go outside, and do we have-
involuntarily annex property, it creates areas that are inconsistent. So the best way to do this is an involuntary annexation, so you include all the areas following the street so it is compact. That this is the way to correct some of those things.
Chief Dull,
Yes, sir.
what is our policy on the police vehicles leaving the city limit?
Well, I don't have a policy. They go to the
'Cause I understood.
route that they can get to.
I understand.
Service.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because we're going to go back some years, that there was a police chase that came across 92, up 69, that killed multiple people on M Highway at Lawson. And we adopted a policy at that point in time that we were not going to continue pursuit, and that we were not going to have vehicles going outside the city limits. And so I'm waiting for the correction if I'm wrong.
I think that's probably a pursuit policy. So we also, what you have to keep in mind is we also provide mutual aid to all of these cities and unincorporated Clay County out in these
Well,
areas.
that would, I had understand
So
that with
we
fire
are
and
going outside
ambulance.
of our city limits, yeah, but even
But not necessarily with
from
the
a
police.
Yes, sir. Our
Yes.
pursuit policy has changed, so we raised the level of what we will pursue for, but we will pursue anywhere in the state to apprehend the individual.
But not
We're gonna change
outside.
Not
No.
outside the state.
So once they hit the city limits down here on 69, they're done.
No, that's not what he said.
We
Do
will
what?
pursue anywhere in the state of Missouri for a dangerous felony is what we have to pursue for. We don't pursue for traffic violations.
Okay.
Also, this would be, think about the city of Kansas City. They have to drive through many other municipalities potentially to get to a home within their cities. That is commonplace for city
Right.
services.
Well,
to
you know,
go through.
there was a point in time that we were on the list to annex the airport out here. And that was before your time, but it was just immediately after you left.
Well, actually, the airport was in place when I worked here. So it wasn't before my time.
But we didn't follow through with it.
That's true. You have to consistently move forward on a plan, or else you lose your priority standing.
And so Carney got it.
There you go. That's how that works.
I think we're biting off a little much.
Okay, we appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Will, if that part gets annexed, will they be maintaining the ditches?
The city, will the city be maintaining the ditches? So, Chad, do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, well, when you say maintaining the ditches, are you talking about grading prospect or like
I'm
mowing?
talking about like my driveway's got a 24-inch tube and it's 3/4 silted in.
Okay, yes, on those inside the city limits, we do have a flusher truck and we will flush tubes like that. The tube itself is the homeowner's responsibility to replace it, and as the same prospect would be if you were a new homeowner and you were going to put in a driveway or an access, you would be responsible to put the tube in. But the city does have the policy that we will maintain it with a flusher truck and if it is clogged up. We will adjust grade ditches typically in our own city limits based to keep them from open as they're an open water conduit area on that. And then depending on our mowing policy, it varies on whether it's a developed piece of parcel or not. So we have a mowing list of right-of-ways on areas that are not developed. We'll mow those with a boom mower or a brush hog. And if it is a developed lot, it's the abutting property owner is responsible to mow it per the city codes.
Thank you.
Or are you going to go back in and force the hard surfaces? I know they're grandfathered at this point, but when you go start flushing and changing tubes, are you going to be enforcing the?
It'd be the same policy as it now. If you have a gravel driveway, you can maintain a gravel driveway. If you expand a gravel driveway, any of the new portion of the expansion would have to be a dust-free surface. There is some other accommodations for more rural driveways. I think you only have to pave like the first 50 feet. If I remember, I don't have the parking policy in front of me.
First 50.
And then if it's a long 700-foot driveway, you'll have to pave the first 50 feet. The rest of it can be gravel. And then naturally, any new houses like that, it would have to be a dust-free surface to follow the same codes. We don't do spot zoning to where one area is a different code from another code.
Also, with the population out there being so sparse and spread out, what is the City of Excelsior Springs and its taxpayers taking on in the way of providing these services? Are we going to make up that difference?
So I don't know that it's ever a make up a difference thing. The city doesn't operate on that. But
you got some 5 and 10 acre farms out there.
sure, we have that already in our city limits.
Yeah.
So our southern portion of our city is pretty rural. We have some very large properties out there that are still actively farmed. We have a lot of agricultural use. And so in this area, it's the same. I don't have it included in this presentation, but I have analyzed the zoning out there, and it's about half ag, half residential, which is honestly on par with what our city already is. So it wouldn't be any different than servicing many of the areas in the city that we already service. And like I said, we're already doing a lot of it through fire and ambulance services.
We're still staying on public water anyways, and there's no sewer mandated hookup as of right now.
Correct.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're going to pay taxes no matter what you do.
Will we be regulated with the fire policy? Like, I burned some of my trash.
Yeah, so we don't permit the burning of trash in the City of Excelsior Springs, per se. You'll be required to have residential trash service if you live on the home. We do have burn permits. Joe, do you want to talk about burn permits?
Yeah, we issue burn permits, but there's restrictions that need to be followed, but you can't burn trash.
So for like land clearing purposes, someone just did it, they just had brush and debris on their property. They got a permit for that, they're free. The fire department just reviews them, comes out and looks. But we just had one about 2 weeks ago in our city limits.
And I would add for trash, we have a current new contract with Redgate, and it will be $23.50 a month, and that supplies each resident a 65-gallon trash cart and a 65-gallon recycle cart. And in addition with that, the back board kind of shows your city services, all the additional things. We have a yard waste site, bulky item site down at our public works facility. The yard waste is included with your trash bill. The bulky item site, there was a very small fees compared to what you'd do if you took it to a landfill to dispose of your bulky items such as couches, carpet, construction debris, stuff like that. So we have the recycle center also, curbside recycle program. So there are a lot of added benefits to coming inside city limits.
Yeah, you can actually call now and request bulky item pickup at your home for a lot of items, so you don't actually have to bring them to the...
And that's directly through Redgate.
Yep, and included. Anything else?
Any questions online?
Do we have any?
He's checking.
I'll look.
Scheduled an hour, you guys are gonna get this done in less than 30 minutes.
190 views on one share.
You didn't get home to watch football? Oh, my.
Football night.
Yeah. Football started early this morning though, because they were in. Yeah.
Since we brought it up, so if we're already gravel driveway, we're not going to be mandated to switch over. We're going to basically be grandfathered in.
Yeah, That's just like any gravel driveway in town. We've got a lot of gravel driveways around here, as long as they stay the same size. If you have a 700-foot gravel driveway and it's 12 foot wide, you can keep maintaining that as long as it is. Now, again, if you say, I want to make it to a double wide, any expansion of it, or a new driveway would have to meet the current policy of it.
I had a comment from the last presentation that you did in regards to fire protection. So there was a house that burned near the city limits on 136th Street, and their concern was where was the nearest fire hydrant. So in the city of Excelsior Springs, the water mains are typically 6 or 8 inch of size, and water mains are water hydrants are located throughout intervals through town. And certainly if it's on the end of a line, you would like to have one at the end. And in rural areas where houses are not built very close together, and when you're on a rural water district, it is most typically that those water lines are 2 inches in size, because you don't need the fire protection through water typically, because you're not going to burn down a whole subdivision. And so you can't put fire hydrants on 2-inch water lines.
They don't have the fire flow.
They don't have the fire flow to put out a fire, and it would collapse the line, is what I've heard rumored.
It would just be, fire hydrants are rated by a fire rating based on gallon per minute. Minimums are like 500. If you have a red cap on it, they'll be a 500 gallons, and they'll go all the way up to about 2,000 in the blue. So if you see a fire hydrant, it goes red, and then orange, and then green and blue. That's showing how much gallon per minute those hydrants flow. And that's based on, really, you can't get much of a fire hydrant even on a 4-inch line. You're going to be so minimal that a fire pumper couldn't even hardly feed the pumper. So a 6-inch would probably be minimum, but that's reduced also. That's still going to get you around that 500 gallon a minute. To get up into your 8s, depending on the pressures that you'd have, you'd get into and you probably work into 12 to 1,500 gallon per minute on that. So in the rural districts like Clay 8 have, and a 2-inch mains or a 3-inch mains, if you do have a fire hydrant out there, it'll only be for flushing purposes usually, and it would be so minimal gallon per minute flow that it wouldn't do anything to put out a fire. So as this area develops, then those size mains will be developed with as development grows. So we have a 16-inch main that goes out to 69 Highway right now, tied on to that last annexation that stopped there like McDonald's area, and it goes all the way out to Cameron Road now. So if that area develops, you have a 16-inch main with very high flow of water pressure out there. So the obvious thing would take a water main up Cameron Road. Say if someone came out there and said, I want to put in a 200-house subdivision or something, then a new main, and the engineers design those to say, well, they may take a feeder line of 12 inches up there and then broadcast it out that. Now, that may take years to get that to that, but the city wouldn't go in now and try to switch over to anything, to replace all the lines.
And it would, since it's inside the water district, it could be a choice that District 8 decides they want to serve that subdivision, or if they choose not to serve it, the City of Excelsior Springs could then serve it. So those will be conversations that will occur when property develops in that direction.
They would have the priority since it is their federal district.
Yeah.
If they say we can't serve it, then they allow us to serve it. And there's some guidelines that follow between shared costs and things, fees.
Now, a number of years ago, Kansas City ran water mains up along 69 Highway, and I know they came quite a ways. I don't know, did they go all the way to the airport?
They are out, yes, to the airport and just to the railroad trestle. Mosby is actually on them now. So you've got Kearney on the other side.
And that's a 24-inch main, if I remember right.
Probably. I don't know if it's 24 or not. I don't know the size. I doubt it's that big.
Now, I've seen some of that pipe they were putting in further down the road. They may have necked down.
Yeah.
And what was it, late 90s, that we ran all that out along 69 down to Cameron Road?
Oh, no,
it
was part of the bond project's expansions from 12 to 15. It was when the sanitary sewer is out there. along the same spot. We had sewer at Williams Creek, right there at the cutover to Owens Lumber, and it was extended out to Cameron Road, and then the 16-inch water main came from where about McDonald's and went out there for future development in this area.
Time flies.
Mm-hmm.
I said time flies.
It does that, yeah.
So those investments kind of demonstrate that we've always had interest in this area, and as its development takes time, so as it is now starting to occur, it now makes sense to provide for the expansion of the city limit lines so we can fully, serve those areas consistently with the area that we are already in the city.
Yeah. And I'd even add on to that, even the Williams Creek line, when it was talked about and developed back in the 90s, that was for future expansion to the west. That was done in 2 different phases, and there actually is a 3rd phase for expansion to tie on to it and even go further north on up to close to 92 highway. That the easements have been acquired for that, but it's never been built. So and that line is still there, an option.
Lift station out there on McCullough 140 needs some attention.
On which one?
The McCullough
Jimmy's property.
Right there.
That's a brand new lift station. It was done in bond projects too.
Well, it's a little aromatic when you go out there and you live in the city.
As is every lift station would be a little aromatic on it.
And toilet paper and other debris.
That's more with the lines, and that area is on the project right now to be all relined with the Army Corps of Engineer grant.
Okay. Any more questions? Hearing none, thank you very much for coming today, and please vote on November 4th.